Welcome back to Live With, sponsored by Species Nutrition. I'm your host tonight, Dave Palumbo, and we are here with IFBB Women's Physique Pro, little monster herself, DANI REARDON. Love it. Look at that double bicep pose. You know, did you ever think you'd be hitting double bicep poses when you had those two pom-poms in your hand and you were cheerleading back in the day?
Oh, yeah. I was always posing. I always had muscles.
What was your nickname then?
Muscles or She-Hulk, something along those lines. It was, I think, Muscles.
You know, a lot of people hear cheerleading, they think that's like a very far-fetched, like, you know, type of a sport compared to bodybuilding. But if you remember, Linda Murray, 8-time Miss Olympia, was originally a cheerleader, and that's where she got her start. How do you go from cheerleading? First of all, how did cheerleading come about, and what was the passion for you in that sport back when you first started?
Cheerleading came about when I was in 9th grade, and I tried out, and it was kind of like the skill and all the tumbling that went into it. I was really good at like tumbling and jumping and doing the stunts and everything like that. So I really liked the physical challenge that it was, and I liked to be skillful at what I was doing. And I picked it up pretty naturally, so I just ran with it.
Per se, like, you know, when you first started, was that something that you did as a child?
Yeah, I did that for about like 6 months. And it was fun, and it taught me a lot of body control, and it taught me how to get into tumbling, but it wasn't suited. It wasn't right. I wanted to perform more. In cheerleading, I got to do that.
You know, you are a really good performer on stage. A lot of people always comment about how entertaining you are. Do you think it's a good idea for kids to learn gymnastics as like a basic skill? Because it's something you never forget your whole life.
Yeah, actually, I think it's like one of the best things for children to get into, like as soon as they start to become coordinated. I think it helps really early on with like neuromuscular development and coordination, and even if they're not going to do gymnastics forever, I think it's a really, really good foundation to start with.
What year would you say, and at what point in your life did all of a sudden cheerleading not become so important to you, and bodybuilding or weightlifting, I think you first started in, kind of became like something was a new interest or hobby of yours?
Well, I stuck with cheerleading all the way through high school, and the reason why I actually moved to Orlando was to do collegiate cheerleading. But weightlifting was something I just did in conjunction because actually my coach recruited me, and I ended up being really good at it, and I liked the working out aspect of it too, because it was more of an individual sport for me versus cheerleading being with a team. And I kind of just did that all 4 years, and then eventually, what happened? Oh, I didn't get into UCF, so I was kind of hurt about that. I went to tryouts anyways, but they wouldn't let me into UCF because I didn't get in. So I went to
How
Valencia.
dare they not let you in? Why didn't they let you in?
Oh, my grades. Well, I had like a 3.8 GPA, but my ACT scores were not up to par with their standards. But it's kind of a blessing because I didn't end up cheerleading. I started to fall into fitness a little bit, and I kept doing the working out. And then I went to the community college around here and started to get into sports and fitness, nutrition, and that just started to light a light bulb in my head, and it was sciencey, and it challenged me in a couple different ways. So that's kind of where I started with the love for weightlifting and training and nutrition. And then I just kept going with my education up until that point, and I just loved it.
Now, what you know, people think cheerleading, they think you're on like the sidelines of like a football game, like, you know, yelling guys' names out. With the cheerleading you do was way different than that. It was more I guess you say performance geared, and you guys competed in competitions. How tough are those cheerleading competitions? Because, you know, most of us never have seen one of those, aside from maybe that movie Bring It, you know, on the
yeah. How tough are they?
Yeah.
You know, they're pretty tough. There can be a lot of pressure there, and it's even more pressure too because you have sometimes 30 other girls that are on your team that you're hoping don't mess up, because every little mess up counts. Yeah. So it's a lot of pressure, but it's also like some of the best memories I have are from cheerleading. So it's a lot of pressure, but you're all together, and it's I think it's a really great combination.
Is it catty like it you see on TV in these movies, or is it like really like team oriented? Where everyone's kind of like friends and stuff like that.
It's kind of both. The high school team I was on was, I guess, a little bit more catty because the competitive side, they're kind of more there just to compete. I guess I think whenever you're with girls, things get catty, but I don't know. I was kind of neutral, just kind of friends with everybody. It can be very catty though, just like you would expect.
At what point did you realize that you had, more muscle than the other girls, and that you had a predisposition for weightlifting?
Probably before high school, probably around 8th grade, 9th grade. And then I started to, because I started to cheer, I started to develop my body. And I just always could develop more muscle than my peers.
Did you like that, or did you get made fun of? Because sometimes, girls are like weird. If you don't look like everyone else, they think, they'll call you names and kind of ostracize you a little bit.
I kind of welcome being ostracized. I liked the fact that I wasn't like a typical girl, and I kind of embraced it. Yeah, I never really saw it as a bad thing. Even when people said it was, unattractive or whatever, it didn't really matter because it was attractive to me, and I took it as a very good thing.
Did that happen a lot to you, or once you started weightlifting, more so?
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot more comments as my body started to get more and more different. But with the bad comments, there were also a lot of good comments too, which made the bad comments not so bad, and made me keep going with what I was doing.
Looking back, Dani, to those years when you started weightlifting and you saw your body changing, and then you actually did get on stage in 2010. I believe you did your first show as a figure competitor. Did you ever envision your body the way it is today? Did you ever say, "Man, I want to be way bigger than this," or was that like a pipe dream, so to speak?
Well, it's fine. I forgot to mention this. When I was in high school, my weightlifting coach also put on a high school bodybuilding competition, and I entered into that all 4 years, and I won showmanship my first 2 years. So I kind of got like a little taste of it, but I just was doing the bodybuild. I just got oiled up and really tan, and I think I even had a Gatorade chugging contest before one of them. Ridiculous. And then my last 2 years, I ended up winning the Miss Wesley Chapel. Overall, it was so exciting, and that was when I kind of first got the bug for it.
At that point, did you know that it was like something that you were going to continue doing into the future? And did you say to yourself, "Wow, I want to look like Julianne and Malick Arnie or something like that"? Or did you say to yourself, "That's too big"? Because I know when I first got into weightlifting, I wanted to look like Stallone and like Rambo, and I thought like Schwarzenegger was way too big. I'm like, I never would want to look like that. Then once I got into the sport of bodybuilding, obviously I wanted to be bigger than Schwarzenegger. So our mindsets change after a while.
Right. I think when I first started doing it in high school, it just felt right. So I just kind of kept going with it. And the real thing for me was improving my own body. I don't know if there was any one actual female that I looked up to. I looked up to Kai Green almost my whole competition career since I started doing figure in 2010. He was pretty much the only person that I really listened to and followed, because for me, I didn't really want to be like everybody else. There was nobody that I wanted to be like. I wanted to be the best me. That's kind of what I worried about. So I think I followed more the training and stuff came naturally, and then the mindset and all the psychological things that come along with it. That's kind of what I admired in the sport.
Now, 2010, when you first competed, had to be a wake-up call for you, because by your own self-admission, you were not in contest condition.
Oh my God, I was fat.
What was that like, going on stage and for, probably for the first time in your career, not doing well, so to speak?
Oh, I thought I looked great. I thought it was the best I had ever looked. I worked super hard. There was a lot of lessons to learn. I thought peanut butter was cool because it had protein in it, and it obviously wasn't. There was a lot of the dieting things that I had to learn with that. And I think that was I don't know, I was 19, just kind of working out because I had a little bit of muscle, and I got on stage, and it was a really good wake-up call, because actually at that show, they awarded me first place, and they made me get back on stage and give the second place girl the first place trophy.
Oh boy, that's terrible.
Great way to start, right?
Yeah,
chubby and totally. But it was a great humbling lesson for me, and I'm glad, that it happened.
Now, 2012 was your first year as a women's physique competitor. Obviously, at some point, you said to yourself, muscle is good, and this is going to be the place that I'm going to fit in. You did a couple shows in 2012. You ended the year with the Nationals, and you actually won your class and got the pro card. I mean, that had to be a whirlwind year for you to all in 1 year, earn your pro card. You had to have known, hey, this is the right place for me. Yeah,
I knew as soon as I was doing figure, and it just didn't. There wasn't enough for me. I always wanted to pose. And the minute I started doing women's physique, it just felt so right that I had to keep doing it. And yeah, everything just clicked, and it just felt like this is for me, 100%.
Were you shocked that you earned your pro card so quickly in that first year as a women's physique competitor?
I don't know if I would say shocked, because I just believed. I didn't rule it out. There was never a time where I thought that I couldn't get it. So I don't know. I wasn't shocked. I was ready for it, I think.
Well, you certainly were. 2013, I guess you launched your pro debut to not that much fanfare, obviously. But then in 2014, you had kind of a breakout year. You placed fourth. I remember I was at that Orlando Europa show, and a lot of people thought you should have been a little higher. Then you placed second in St. Louis. You had to have known at this point that you were on the right path. What was your mindset back then, and what were you feeling about the way your placings were increasing, I guess you could say?
Well, in 2013, my pro debut, I hate that it was even my debut, because I was actually finishing up my graduate degree and trying to compete at the same time, and it was just so taxing. I couldn't put 100% effort into competing. So then the following year I graduated, and I was really able to take everything seriously, from the food and the cardio, and I just took it all in, embraced it, and took it on. And then I got second place, and I don't know, it really taught me how to work and really get into the sport and see what it's about, versus just trying to compete, trying to do this, and not really taking it seriously.
What do you think about the way the sport had evolved from, its inception up until 2014 at that point? Because a lot of people thought your placing should have been a little higher, and then they were trying to talk about maybe they didn't want the girl so muscular. Then right after that, they went and they switched gears, and the girls got a lot bigger. Were you kind of confused at some point?
Yeah, I'm still kind of confused. I think Julianne and Malick is a great example for women's physique. Obviously the best one we could have, but now they're changing it a little bit again. So I've always just kind of brought my best and hoped that it was what they were looking for, because it changed so often that all I could do was bring my best, and it served me well.
Now, you match up very well with Julianne and Malick. You both shorter bodybuilders. You both, or physique competitors, I should say. You both have very similar physiques and looks. So from that perspective, you have to almost be happy that she's Miss Olympia, because you look like a little mini version of her.
Thank you very much for saying that. And I actually, whenever she was crowned Miss Olympia, I was very excited, because a lot of people had compared the two of us before. So I knew that if that was the direction that they were going, I was kind of headed in the right direction, and it kind of put me at ease, because I didn't really need to change a whole lot of what I like about competing. If they went bigger, I don't know that that look would have been what I wanted to go for and that route that I wanted to go. So the fact that they chose her, yeah, I'm like really excited about it.
Well, obviously we all have, ups and downs. And at a certain point in 2014, you had a little bit of a down. And, I want to address this because I think, it was out there in the news. The Huffington Post ran a story on it. And I know you'd like to address it. So I want to just bring it up. The headline was, she's a little monster with a big attitude. And it was, I'll read the first paragraph of the story because, when you Google your name, unfortunately, when I Google my name, I come up too when I got arrested. So it kind of sucks that that's what, people see. But people love negativity. So I would like you to address it. The opening line was, award-winning bodybuilder DANI REARDON was liquored up when she beat up her live-in boyfriend and kicked in his windshield early Sunday, police say. The 24-year-old then allegedly bashed her head repeatedly into the cage of the patrol car after her arrest in Orange County, Florida. Now, that sounds terrible, and I know you as a person, and I know that's not you. And like I said, it sounds almost like a fraternity stunt. What happened? Give us the story about what happened that night.
Well, we were at a party, and there was some liquor involved, and I was intoxicated. And I normally am not a heavy drinker, so I'd actually never drink. And that was one of the nights that I did because I wasn't dieting, and I thought, oh, let's go have some fun. And I just drank too much. Things got really out of hand, and I honestly, what they said in the story, the guy who wrote it, whatever, is overly dramatized. Things of that nature did happen, but it totally wasn't what they made it out to be.
Did you beat up your boyfriend?
I'm sorry?
Did you beat up your boyfriend at the time?
I mean, I don't know. I didn't beat him up. I don't think I could even beat him up. He's like 6 foot, 250 pounds, and here I am, little, 5 foot thing coming at him. How much could I really do unless I had a baseball bat?
That's right.
Really. So I don't know how much beating up I really could have done.
Were you guys arguing? How'd the cops even get, called into this whole mess?
Well, there was actually, it was a huge, beautiful party. And there was a band that was playing, and we got a noise complaint, for the band. And whenever they came, I was doing what I was doing.
Which is why.
And the cops, I guess, had to take somebody. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So bad timing, in other words.
Yeah, but yeah, bad timing. But it actually, it's hard for me to say, but I can kind of thank this for happening because it led me to ask myself very, very, very important questions. That year, if you remember, I was going from 2nd place to 4th place to 6th place to 8th place at the Tampa Pro. And I just wanted to compete, and I was doing worse and worse and worse, and it was all that I had because I was done with school. So I think I know it took a bigger toll on me than I knew that it did and that I was going to admit that it did. And I think a lot of that incident, that freak out, was a lot of depression and the sport can get you down, and it got me down, but it also led me to start questioning myself, why do I want to do this? What am I doing with my life? What's my purpose here? Why is this taking such a big toll? And the day that I got arrested, from 1 year, I was flying out to compete at the Olympia.
It's amazing. You turned it around.
Yeah, and if that incident didn't happen, I don't know that it would have been that great of a turnaround. I don't know if I would have asked myself, the questions, and I don't know if I would be the person I am today. So yeah, I was in jail, but I also have a huge purpose, and I have a lot of intention. And when I look at the pictures, I was actually telling my friend this today. When I look at the pictures from 2014 in the pink suit, I was competing for very, very superficial, very physical reasons. I liked to be known as the girl with muscles, that I was shredded. And now I've come to this realization that I'm competing for a much bigger purpose. And there's a lot of other things that come along with competing. And
such as what?
Well, such as that, people say that I inspire them, which I think is amazing. And that I did not envision, that I did not expect.
You got a lot of fans out there, a ton of fans.
yeah, I can't even. That part I didn't expect, and that part I didn't envision.
You know
And
why,
I
Danny?
think,
People love a good comeback. That's always the case. You see it in the celebrity stars all the time in Hollywood. A guy crashes or a girl crashes. She does everything bad happens to them. People say, "Oh, we hate them," and then all you know, they're on the way back. And people love a great comeback. And you had a terrific comeback. You put that behind you. That silly little arrest. You came back 2015. You won your first pro show, the Greater Gulf States. You went to the Olympia. You placed top 4. I mean, 2015, was your year for certain. I mean, it had to raise you up to another spiritual level, I would think, after, making that kind of a comeback in this sport.
yeah, and it's funny that you say spiritual, because that's a lot of the kind of the work that I've been doing since the arrest, and just really focusing on my mind. And I have a pillow that says thoughts become things. On my keychain it says gratitude, and it's just these little things that remind me every day that I'm doing the right thing and that I'm on the right path. And yeah, it totally changed everything for me.
Do you think people can get too caught up in the physicality, the whole superficiality, the whole ego rush from the bodybuilding world, and they sometimes forget, where they came from, what life is really all about, as far as giving back and being, spiritually connected to what you're doing? And I think, we lose track of that. Let's face it, because the accolades and the fanfare just raises us up sometimes into fantasy land.
Totally. And I was actually writing an email right before you guys called to this girl who asked me how do you deal with the negativity and of being in your off-season condition. And I was actually excited to write her back, because this is kind of what I mean by being in this position and going through what I've been through. And now I'm in this position where I can help other people who haven't gone there yet. But anyway, I was telling her that you need to do this for you. Like this, the more and more that you try to compete for a card and a status and a qualification, the more you're going to get let down, because somebody can always take that from you. What you need to do and what you need to focus on is who you become in the process, and that no one can ever take from you. And that's what I learned. That's what I learned from that whole incident. Yeah. Is that it's not all about the physicality. It's actually not. And the way that you feel inside is the way that you look outside, and that I know for sure. As within, so without.
Wise beyond her years. That's what I like to say. Wise beyond her years. Now, let's talk about that win at the Greater Gulf States. Your first pro win. Had to feel great. I don't know. I can't equate it to anything because I never had a pro win. Talk to us when you heard your name called out in first place. What went through your mind? What went through your body, your soul, your everything?
I just. It felt really good. It felt really good to get a pro win, because that was my 7th show that I had been trying to qualify for the Olympia, and my NPC career was very, very quick. It was like, win, qualify, nationals, pro card, now you're in the pro. So I wasn't really used to having to try. So before that show, I had actually watched The Secret, like 5 weeks before the show, and I am so glad that I did, because it changed my world. And I became less concerned about the win and more concerned about bettering myself and giving back to others, and truly believing that I deserved to win a pro show. Truly believing that. And then it happened. And what went through my head is, oh my God, it works. It led me to keep want to keep working on this, and it was amazing. I just remember like putting my hands over my mouth, like, oh my God, that's not my name. 2nd place, not me.
Now, I was interviewing Jay Cutler the other day, and we were talking about how important the mental aspect of this sport is. And if you really want to be the best in the business, you got to have a very strong mindset. What percentage would you say of your placings and how you do in competition would you attribute to the mental strongness or the mental toughness that you have to have?
100%. I think your ability to stay on your diet, your ability to do the work that's expected of you, and then some, all comes from this place inside of your mind that needs to push you. And I also think that the mind also plays a role in, obviously, physiological things like cortisol and all that, but it also plays a mind in the way that you look. I know that if you feel confident and you feel beautiful, then you will look that way. It'll show through in your eyes, in your smile. And I think the mind is everything. Without that, you end up in jail. I've been there. So
good point. Now,
yeah.
I think the best you've ever looked, in my opinion, your ultimate, peaked physique has been at this past year's Olympia, where you placed fourth. I mean, in a stellar lineup. That, to me, that was your most impressive look and your most impressive placing to date. Was the Olympia did you finally arrive the way you can envision yourself ultimately being?
Yeah. I mean, I envision better, but I believe that I think that day when I was on stage, I remember just thinking it felt so good that this is what I have to be doing. This is what I'm doing. And whether it be, one purpose or another, it could be just a way for me to talk to everybody and to help everybody. And that was it for me. And none of it was hard.
Well, that's good, because when it's easy, that means it's right usually.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, and look, let's face it, the Olympia is the pinnacle of our sport.
Yeah.
To be top, 4 in the world is a tremendous accolade. And actually, now people are expecting, you to do well, which leads us to the 2016 Arnold Classic, which is coming up. You'll be in that lineup, facing off against Kieran Newman, who is second at the Olympia. Julianne will not be in this lineup, nor will Tyce Coppett. So you have to be considered one of the favorites going in there. I mean, how does that feel? Do you feel a little more pressure, or do you like that? Do you champion that? Do you embrace that?
Well, I feel more pressure, but I've come to embrace pressure. I keep saying to myself, pressure creates diamonds. Pressure creates diamonds. If you let the pressure get to you, then it's going to get to you. If you let the pressure mold you, then you'll be a diamond. So I'm kind of embracing it. It's motivating. It is a little nerve-wracking, I'm not going to lie, but I think that it should be. It's not a competition if it's not. And I am flattered and honored and just beside myself that I'm even being considered as one of the favorites now. And this is just crazy.
Tell me why DANI Reardon should win the 2016 Arnold Classic.
Because I have I have a message. I want to help everybody. I want to give back. This is what I feel like I was born to do, and I want to be a great role model in this sport, and I want to show everybody that there's more to it than just push-ups and chicken. I want to be that person to shed that light on the sport, and I think it needs to be done, especially for females, because of the physical, everything that we get caught up in. I want to be that person.
Well, let's fantasize for a minute. Let's assume you win the show, and I'll be Arnold, and because Arnold's going to get up there and he's going to ask you a question. He does this every year to all the champions. He's going to be like, "Hi, DANI, and I want to ask you, how did you train for this show and look so wonderful?"
How do I train for the show?
And look so wonderful. You have to have an original answer for Arnold, because everyone always says the usual, well, I eat my 16 chicken breasts a day and I train 4 times a day. What's your answer going to be?
My answer is going to be, thanks for the advice. He says, something that I love to live by is break the rules. Not the law, but break the rules.
I like
and
that.
Don't listen to the naysayers. Those are 2 big ones for me. And I don't know, he's just very inspirational in the way that he was a champion.
Right.
Everybody has muscles. Everybody diets and does cardio. But the way in which he did it, I really admire. And I would love to represent that. And I'd be honored.
When you first got into the sport, did you ever think you'd be like meeting Arnold Schwarzenegger up on a stage?
Yeah.
You did. That's good.
I as soon as I started competing, in my head I was a pro. as soon as I got my pro card, I was at the Olympia. You know, and there was never an in between for me. That's just where my mind was. It was pro card and then Olympia, and now I'm there. And I don't know. I think everyone should think that they're Miss Olympia, because why are you doing this if you're not? You know, I don't know. Everyone should think that.
Very, very wise words. Are we going to see another stellar routine? Are you preparing something special for the Arnold Classic stage?
Yeah. It's special to me, and that's what happens. That's how I pick my songs, is I'll hear it or I'll find it somehow. And normally it has to give me some sort of feeling. Fight song was the one I chose for Olympia. Right. And that one, she says, time to take back my life and prove that I'm all right. And that was, to me, it spoke to me for what happened last year to what happened this year. It was kind of my fight song, to take back my life and show, whatever. So for the Arnold, a similar song has happened. It's about a dream. And that's what I'm going with for now. Sometimes it changes if I hear it. But yeah, it's going to be, I plan to put on a heartfelt routine. I don't know if it's going to be the best, the most aerobic or anything, but I can tell you right now, I don't even know if I can do it without crying.
That's great. There's so few routines that I enjoy watching anymore that I always say the women usually are more entertaining than the men anyway. And since women's bodybuilding is no longer there, all we have is fitness and women's physique. So I'm looking forward to your routine. So I'm putting the pressure on you to give us a good performance there, so you can keep us all awake and cheering in our seats there.
Okay. Oh my God.
I wanted to give you
Precious Diamonds.
There you go. I want to give you the opportunity to thank some of your sponsors. I know you have a few of them out there. You want to just give them a thank you?
Okay. First, I would like to thank Fit Hustle Clothing, my great friends and awesome clothing sponsors. I love you guys. HD Physiques. Very excited to be a part of it again this year. And Orlando Body and Movement Therapy. If you guys see a lot of my posts, I'm going there to get muscular work and therapy done. And it's really important to take care of your body, and I love them. And thank you so much.
Last question of the evening. Okay. Who was your biggest influence in this industry coming up in it?
Kai Green.
Okay. That's
100%. And that's, if you even look at some of my poses, they're very reminiscent of Kai Green. I was inspired by his heart and by his passion for it, and in the way that he approaches everything. Because it just resonated really deeply with me, because that's how I'm kind of a very emotional person, and I'm like that. Like he is. What he says resonates with me, and he was my biggest influence. Like I said, I kind of just looked at his poses, but I wanted my body to be the best it could be.
Well, he'll be in that competition as well, ironically enough. So there might be two champions standing next to each other on stage, with definitely one of them admiring the other one. So that's kind of like a little bit of foreshadowing, possibly. Now, let me ask you this question. I was going to let you go, but I want one more question. Kieran Newman, obviously, another real up-and-coming rising star. She's kind of got a different type of physique from you. She's taller, more streamlined. Why is DANI Reardon going to beat Kieran Newman come the Arnold Classic? Put you on the spot.
Well, to be honest, I haven't really picked her physique apart. I think why anybody could beat anybody is because of a mindset. So I just have to stay positive, I think, and I don't know, maybe I'm gonna work. I'm gonna be conditioned. I'm gonna be better than I was at the Olympia. So I'm gonna make it really hard to beat me.
Good enough.
And I think everybody should make it really hard to beat them. So,
Do you like the fact that they've opened up the women's physique division to anyone who wants to enter? It's kind of like 60 girls going to be up on the stage at the prejudging. Then they're going to knock that down to 10. Do you feel that it takes away some of the exclusivity for the Arnold Classic?
Yeah. To be honest, I was kind of disappointed with that, because it's kind of like getting the Olympia qualification, but you have to work for it. It says something different about who you are as a competitor and a person, and who they want to represent the Arnold Classic on stage when you get that invite. that was personally something I was really looking forward to. Like I wanted to write an essay. I wanted to explain myself why I deserve to be on that stage. And I feel like it was kind of taken away this year. And you know, they may go back to it or whatever. But after I get over that, there is the fact that there's going to be 67 girls or whatever, however many send in their contracts. And there's a different kind of prestigiousness that comes with, you know, beating 67 girls or whoever, you know, whatever. But yeah, I wanted the invite, man. I wanted it so bad.
Well, you've been to the Olympia, but I want to thank you, Dani, for taking time out of your schedule and talking to us. Best of luck in your diet prep for the Arnold, and we'll all be rooting for you. You went from little monster to big inspiration in a lot of people's minds.
Oh my God, thank you so much. And thank you for giving me this opportunity to kind of speak my mind. I haven't gotten to do this, so I'm really glad that you asked me the questions you did, and thank you so much for having me.
All right, that's going to take us to the end of another episode of Live With, sponsored by Species Nutrition. I'm your host, Dave Palumbo. We'll see you next time.